The Philippines during martial law. Proclamation of martial law. On September 21, 1972, President Ferdinand E. Marcos placed the Philippines under martial law. The declaration issued under Proclamation 1081 suspended the civil rights and imposed military authority in the country. Marcos defended the declaration, stressing the need for extra powers to quell the rising wave of violence allegedly caused by communists. The emergency rule was also intended to eradicate the roots of rebellion and promote a rapid trend for national development. The autocrat assured the country of the legality of martial law, emphasizing the need for control over civil disobedience that displays lawlessness. Marcos explained, citing the provisions from the Philippine Constitution, that martial law is a strategic approach to legally defend the Constitution and protect the welfare of the Filipino people from the dangerous threats posed by Muslim rebel groups and Christian vigilance that placed national security at risk during the time. Marcos explained that martial law was not a military takeover, but was then the only option to resolve the country's dilemma on rebellion that stages national chaos, threatening the peace and order of the country. The emergency rule, according to Marcos's plan, was to lead the country into what he calls a new society. Marcos used several events to justify martial law. Threat to the country's security was intensifying following the re-establishment of the Communist Party of the Philippines, or the CPP, in 1968. Supporters of CPP's military arm, the New People's Army, also grew in numbers in Tarlac and in other parts of the country. The alleged attempt to the life of then Minister of Defense Juan Ponce Enrile gave Marcos a window to declare martial law. Marcos announced the emergency rule the day after the shooting incident. Marcos also declared insurgency in the south caused by the clash between Muslims and Christians, which Marcos considered as a threat to national security. The Muslims were defending their ancestral land against the control of Christians who migrated in the area. The minority group organized the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, in Malaysia and pushed for the autonomy of Mindanao from the national government. The move was initially supported by most Filipinos and was viewed by some critics as a change that solved the massive corruption in the country. Martial law ceased the clash between the executive and legislative branches of the government and the bureaucracy characterized by special interests. Marcos started to implement reforms on social and political values that hindered effective modernization. To match the accomplishments of its Asian neighbors, Marcos imposed the need for self-sacrifice for the attainment of national welfare. His reforms targeted his rivals within the elite, depriving them of their power and patronage, but did not affect their supporters. 30,000 opposition figures, including Senator Benigno Aquino, journalists, student and labor activists, were detained at military compounds under the President's command. The Army and the Philippines Constabulary seized weapons and disbanded private armies controlled by prominent politicians and other influential figures. Marcos took control of the legislature and closed the Philippine Congress. Numerous media outlets were either closed down or operated under tight control. Marcos also allegedly funneled millions of the country's money by placing some of his trusted supporters in the strategic economic positions to channel resources to him. Experts do call this as the crony capitalism. The deterioration of the political and economic condition in the Philippines triggered the decline of support on Marcos' plans. More and more Filipinos took arms to dislodge the regime. Urban poor communities in the country's capital were organized by the Philippine Ecumenical Council for Community and were soon conducting protest masses and prayer rallies. These efforts, including the exposure of numerous human rights violations, pushed Marcos to hold an election in 1978 and 1981 in an aim to stabilize the country's chaotic condition. Marcos, in both events, won the election. However, his extended term as President of the Republic of the Philippines elicited an extensive opposition against his regime. Social unrest reached its height after former Senator Benigno Aquino was murdered. The incident sent thousands of Filipinos to the streets calling for Marcos' removal from post. Turning again to his electoral strategy, Marcos held a snap election in 1986, but what he hoped to satisfy the masses only increased their determination to end his rule that seated Corazon Aquino, widow of Benigno Aquino, as President of the Philippines, ousting Marcos from Malacanang Palace and ending the 21 years of tyrant. The EDSA People Power Revolution. The Philippines was praised worldwide in 1986 when the so-called bloodless revolution erupted, called EDSA People Powers Revolution. February 25, 1986 marked a significant national event that has been engraved in the hearts and minds of every Filipino. This part of Philippine history gives us a strong sense of pride, especially that other nations had attempted to emulate what we have shown the world of the true power of democracy. The true empowerment of democracy has exhibited in EDSA by its successful efforts to oust a tyrant by a demonstration without tolerance for violence and bloodshed. Prayers and rosaries strengthened by faith were the only weapons that the Filipino used to recover their freedom from President Ferdinand Marcos' iron hands. The Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, or EDSA, stretches 54 kilometers where the peaceful demonstration was held on that fateful day. It was a day that gathered all Filipinos in unity with courage and faith to prevail democracy in the country. It was the power of the people who assembled in EDSA that restored the democratic Philippines, ending the oppressive Marcos regime. Hence, it came to be known as the EDSA People Powers Revolution. The revolution was the result of the long-oppressed freedom and the life-threatening abuses executed by the Marcos government, to cite several events like human rights violations since the tyrannical martial law proclamation in 1972. In the years that followed, martial law started the suppressive and abusive years. Incidents of assassinations were rampant, particularly those who opposed the government. Individuals and companies alike were subdued. The Filipinos reached the height of their patience when former Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino Sr. was shot and killed at the airport in August 21, 1983, upon his return to the Philippines from exile in the United States. Aquino's death marked the day that Filipinos learned to fight. His grieving wife, Corazon Cojuangco Aquino, showed the Filipinos and the world the strength and courage to claim back the democracy that Ferdinand Marcos arrested for his personal caprice. Considering the depressing economy of the country, Ninoy's death further intensified the contained resentment of the Filipinos. In the efforts to win back his popularity among the people, Marcos held his snap presidential election in February 7, 1986, where he was confronted with a strong and potent opposition, Corazon Aquino. It was the most corrupt and deceitful election held in the Philippine history. There was an evident trace of electoral fraud as a tally of votes were declared with discrepancy between the official count by the COMELEC, or the Commission on Elections, and the count of NAMFREL, or the National Movement for Free Elections. Such blatant corruption in that election was the final straw of tolerance by the Filipinos of the Marcos regime. The demonstration started to break in the cry for democracy and the demand to oust Marcos from his seat at Malacanang Palace. The revolt commenced when Marcos Defense Minister Juan Ponce Enrile and the Armed Forces Vice Chief of Staff Command of Fidel B. Ramos both withdrew their support from the government and called upon the resignation of then-President Marcos. They responsibly barricaded Camp Crame and Camp Aguinaldo and had their troops ready to combat against possible armed attack organized by Marcos and his troops. The Catholic Church, represented by Archbishop Jaime Cardinal Sin, along with the priests and nuns, called for the support of all Filipinos who believe in democracy. Radio Veritas aired the message of Cardinal Sin that summoned thousands of Filipinos to march the street of EDSA. It was an empowering demonstration that aimed to succeed peacefully with the intervention of faith. Nuns kneeled in front of the tanks with rosaries in their hands and uttering their prayers. With the power of prayers, the armed Marian troops under the command of Marcos withdrew from the site. Celebrities expressed their support, putting up a presentation to showcase the injustices and the anomalies carried out by Marcos' administration. Finally, in the morning of February 25, 1986, Corazon Aquino took the presidential oath of office, administered by the Supreme Court Associate Justice Claudio Tihanki at Club Filipino located in San Juan. Aquino was proclaimed as the 11th President of the Republic of the Philippines. She was the First Lady President of the country. People rejoiced over their victory, proving the success of the EDSA People's Power Revolution, the historic peaceful demonstration. Also in 2001, there was an attempt to revive people power in the efforts to oust then-President Joseph Estrada. It was not as strong as the glorifying demonstration in 1986. The bloodless people power revolution in EDSA renewed the power of the people, strengthened the meaning of democracy, and restored the democratic institutions of government.